Muai, jiwa SME, gelanggang inspirasi usahawan. Laporan itu mengakhiri Awani Borneo untuk hari ini. Saya Asim Hassan. Salam hormat. Kita jumpa lagi.
Hi, good evening. You're watching Awani Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. The Malaysian passport now stands at 11th place in the global passport ranking, moving up 2 places from 2021 and 2022. According to the latest Henley Passport Index, Malaysia's passport provides visa-free access to 180 out of 227 travel destinations worldwide.
Singapore topped the list with a passport that grants visa-free access to 192 destinations. Within Southeast Asia, Brunei ranked 20th, followed by Thailand at 64, Indonesia 69, Philippines 74, Cambodia and Vietnam both 82, Laos 87 and Myanmar 89. The Henley Passport Index ranks 199 passports of the world based on data from the International Air Transport Authority, which it then cross-checks against in-house research and open-source data. For each travel destination that does not require a visa, or where an Electronic Travel Authority (ETA) or visitor's permit can be obtained upon arrival, a passport's mobility score increases by 1.
A special unit will be set up to deal with race, religion and royalty, or 3R issues raised during the upcoming state polls and the Kuala Terengganu parliamentary by-election. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil says this is to ensure during this period no parties will take advantage to draw support by abusing issues related to 3R. He said the decision to set up the unit follows a meeting on Tuesday with Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein and his deputy, representatives from the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, and social media platform operators such as TikTok. Fahmi stressed that the relevant authorities will take action against those who flout the laws to ensure public safety and security. Meanwhile, Law and Institutional Reforms Minister Datuk Sri Azalina Osman Said said the government will discuss with relevant parties this Friday to assess existing laws and look into the need for a new law to deal with 3R matters. The Election Commission has fixed July 29 for nominations and August 12 as polling day for the state elections in Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Penang, Kedah, Kelantan and Terengganu, while the by-election for the Kuala Terengganu parliamentary seat will also be held concurrently. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's official visit to Vietnam will contribute to increased political trust between the two nations. Vietnamese ambassador to Malaysia, Ding Ngoc Ling, says the visit would help foster growth of bilateral ties and provide a new framework for future development. According to local media, the ambassador said the visit will support the implementation of the action program to implement the Vietnam-Malaysia Strategic Partnership for the 2021 to 2025 period. Ling added that Anwar's visit would provide investment opportunities for entrepreneurs from both countries. This while stepping up bilateral cooperation in response to top global concerns, including energy and food security, climate change, and digital transformation. Anwar is set to visit Vietnam from 20 to 21st July at the invitation of Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. Meanwhile, Ling also expressed his conviction that the goal of increasing bilateral trade to $18 billion by 2025 can be achieved. A two-way trade between Vietnam and Malaysia, now Vietnam's 10th largest foreign investor, has increased by 17.4% year-on-year to $14.68 billion in 2022. The government has no plans to enforce environmental, social and governance (ESG) practices among micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs), partly due to their lack of understanding on its importance. While Marissa Razik from the International Trade Center supports the government's move, she believes SMEs do have the awareness to implement ESGs but face many challenges.
I don't think that SMEs in general have a lack of understanding, but it's more of there are difficulties on how to implement it for their size, for a company of their size. And how do you scale all of these big ideas to suit that particular company? The feedback is SMEs understand that they need to implement ESGs within their practices. It's the question of how, and how can it be most efficient done for them and by them. The only issue is how can we make it as bite-sized as possible, or maybe sequential, make it more sequential, so that they are able to implement it in a step-by-step process. So it is more palatable for an SME to implement. So when the government said that they're not going to enforce some regulations to ensure compliance with ESG requirements, I think that sounds an interesting way of doing it, because it allows the SMEs the space to experiment on how to do it as best as they can for their own companies.
Marissa highlights the lack of resources and funding that micro enterprises face to become ESG compliant. She stresses the importance of research and time to explore viable options that can help them in their journey.
The main challenge that I tend to see is in terms of supply. There are a lot of SMEs in Malaysia, and they are actually the backbone of the Malaysian economy. And because of this increase of this high demand of how to implement ESG into my own practices, we find that there's not enough sustainability or ESG consultants available. And those that are available might be a little bit out of their financial range. But there are a lot of options that are available online. There are a lot of certifications that are accessible, and they do things step by step. An example is some of the subjects and the modules that organizations like SME Corp and the UNGC and the International Trade Center, where I'm from, we do have these resources that are free and available online. And you can go through it and learn how to become more sustainable. And those points can be then adapted into an SME's practice. Investing a little bit of time just to research what is available out there for immediate access, that would be a good first step.
Being ESG compliant is no longer an option, but a necessity. Therefore, Marissa urged MSMEs to get on board.
Malaysia, at the end of the day, we are a trading nation. Therefore, our imports, our exports, how we participate in the global supply chain for both goods and services and investments are very important. We find that now a clear example would be some of the regulations coming out from the EU Green Deal, where there are more regulations that are impacting sustainability, that are impacting various aspects and elements of ESG. So for companies, for SMEs, to ensure that they do not lose their space in this international value chain, it is very important for them to get on board.
We'll be back with the international news updates.
Hai semua, korang ingat tak? Astro buat 99 ganjaran 99 hari. Hari ini kami nak pergi rumah pemenang-pemenang bertuah 99 rewards. Kita nak tanya apa perasaan mereka. Let's go! Tak sabar nak tengok reaksi diorang ni semua. Mungkin diorang tahu diorang dah menang, tapi diorang tak tahu Astro dah hantar hadiah dekat rumah diorang tau. Okey, kita dah sampai. Jom! Congrats! Betul. Cikgu menang laptop. You menang Apple iPhone 14. Congrats! Bunda ini menang Apple iPad.
Saya selalu bayar bil dekat My Astro app. Saya tengok kat situ ada 99 rewards. Saya dapat juga hadiah.
Memang terperanjat sebab yang kita hantar tu, yang pertama kita dapat.
Yang kat rumah tu jangan kecewa kalau tak menang tau. Sebab Astro sentiasa bawakan ganjaran-ganjaran eksklusif. Anda hanya perlu muat turun aplikasi My Astro dan apa lagi? Tebuslah semua. Astro baru memang best.
Astro baru memang best.
Welcome back. ASEAN leaders have continued to promote the 5-point consensus as the best way to resolve the crisis in Myanmar. but the consensus has been ineffective in bringing about a solution or ending the violence. Has ASEAN reached a deadlock, and does it have the means to do more?
The military's got no interest in ending the violence or talking. They're not absolutely, and frankly, right now the resistance is not interested in talking. It's also based, in my view, on a faulty assumption that this is some kind of civil war between two political factions. It's not. It's a military that is hated in the country, that seized power, and pretty much the entire country united against it. So I don't see, the 5-point consensus is going anywhere. I don't think ASEAN's moving off of it because they can't get a consensus to do more.
With the junta refusing to budge, Scott says it's up to the US to take the lead on Myanmar by giving more support to the National Unity Government and other resistance elements to force the military out of power, or at least weaken it sufficiently. He also expresses doubt that calls for an even stronger ASEAN position will make any difference.
I don't think even a united, more aggressive ASEAN could solve the Myanmar crisis. I think it could do some more, but it's really, nobody's going to be able to go in and convince these generals to give up power. They're going to have to be forced to give up power. So I don't blame ASEAN for that.
Scott was speaking in a briefing with journalists under the Foreign Press Centre's international reporting at the Asia Society, Northern California.
Nobody's going to be able to go in.
Thailand's National Assembly has rejected the renomination of Move Forward Party leader Pita Limcharoenrat as Prime Minister. This effectively ends his bid to become the country's next premier, despite his party winning the most votes in the May elections. In a joint House and Senate sitting, 395 parliamentarians voted against Pita's renomination, while 312 voted in support. 8 abstained, and 1 did not exercise the right to vote. Earlier, Thailand's Constitutional Court suspended Pita from MP duties while it considers an electoral crime case against him. The court had accepted a case alleging that he was ineligible to run in the elections due to his ownership of shares in media station ITV. Lawmakers are forbidden from owning shares in media companies under Thailand's constitution, though the television station has not been in broadcasting since 2007. With Pita's renomination blocked, the Move Forward coalition will now have to rethink its strategy. On Saturday, Pita said he would give way to a nominee from the Pheu Thai, the second party in his coalition. Meanwhile, senior members from Singapore's Workers' Party, Leon Pereira and Nicole Seah, have resigned from the opposition due to an extramarital affair. Secretary General Pritam Singh said Pereira had informed the acting Speaker of Parliament on his resignation as an MP. At a press conference on Wednesday, Singh said both Pereira and Seah admitted to having an affair that started after the 2020 general elections, but had stopped some time ago. He added that Pereira's conduct and lack of honesty when asked by the party leadership about the allegations fell short of the standards expected of the party MPs and was unacceptable. Both resignations followed scrutiny over a video clip circulating on social media, which appeared to show Pereira and Seah holding hands and having a conversation over a candlelit dinner. It is not known when or where the video was shot, but the video and the original account posting it were no longer available. Sri Lanka's parliament has approved an anti-corruption bill aimed at improving governance in the crisis-hit country. The legislation was passed without a vote in the 225-member parliament. The move was part of requirements tied to a $2.9 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. It is the first time an IMF program has been linked to such a measure in Asia. Sri Lanka's economy is currently facing its worst financial crisis in over 70 years. This was triggered by a severe foreign exchange crunch that forced the country to default on its foreign debt, resulting in currency depreciation and skyrocketing inflation. In other news, U.S. soldier Travis King, who fled to North Korea, faced 2 assault allegations and was fined by a South Korean court for damaging a police car, according to a court ruling. However, the motivations behind King's unauthorized crossing of the inter-Korean border on Tuesday remain unclear.
King pleaded guilty to assault and destruction of public goods and was fined $4,000 by the Seoul Western District Court on February 8th. US officials said he had completed a 2-month detention in South Korea for another unspecified offence. He was being escorted back to the US for disciplinary action by the US military when he reportedly decided to join a tour to the North Korean border. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said King had crossed the border willfully and is now believed to be in North Korean custody. Meanwhile, Pyongyang has yet to issue a statement about the incident. Instead, its headlines on Wednesday were focused on the death anniversary of its founder, Kim Il-sung, and the development in various local industries.
That wraps up the show tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Soraya Mia, and we'll see you again.
Hello and good evening, I'm Melissa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. The Consider This team is on the road ahead of the state elections. We're here in Penang to get a sense of the issues that are resonating on the ground. And joining me today, I have KN Yee, a state committee member from Muda